I've worked the night shift at a small roadside motel for years, and I've seen my fair share of odd guests. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compares to what happened one stormy night at 2:30 a.m. That evening, a couple checked in, visibly shaken. The man's hands trembled as he handed over his ID, and the woman's eyes darted around the lobby, like she was expecting something to follow them inside. As I pulled up their reservation, the woman suddenly leaned forward and whispered, "Please, we need a different room." Not 207 confused, I checked the system. Room 207 was the exact one they had booked online. "I can try, but we're nearly full tonight," I replied. The woman's grip on the counter tightened. "Then cancel it. We'll find another motel." Her desperation made my skin crawl. I had to ask, "Is something wrong with the room?" She hesitated, then spoke so softly I almost didn't hear. "There's someone already in there, but he's not human." The way she said it sent a chill up my spine. I assured them I'd get them a new room, and after they left, curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed the master key card and walked to room 207. The hall was eerily silent. The flickering fluorescent lights above the door buzzed like they were struggling to stay on. I slid the key card in. The lock clicked. Slowly, I pushed the door open. The room was cold, freezing cold. Far too cold for a summer night, even with the AC running. The smell of rotting meat hit me instantly, thick and nauseating. The bed was neatly made, but the bathroom door stood slightly ajar, and I could hear breathing. Slow, shallow, raspy breaths. I stepped forward. My heart pounded so loudly I swore whoever, or whatever, was in there could hear it. I called out, "Hello?" Nothing. I reached for the bathroom door and gently pushed it open. The bathroom was empty, but the mirror was fogged up, like someone had been standing right in front of it, breathing heavily. And then I saw it. 3 long claw marks dragged across the glass. My body froze. I backed out of the room, slammed the door shut, and ran back to the front desk. That night, I left room 207 unoccupied. I didn't clean it. I didn't even step near it again. But at exactly 3 a.m., the front desk phone rang. I picked it up. A deep, guttural voice whispered one word. "Mine." The caller ID? Room 207. But when I checked the security cameras, the door had never opened. 2. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. This happened to my uncle in the late 1990s. He was driving back from a business trip, cutting through a long, deserted stretch of highway in the middle of nowhere. It was past midnight, and rain poured down in thick sheets, his windshield wipers barely keeping up. As he rounded a bend, his headlights illuminated a figure standing by the roadside. A young woman, soaking wet, dressed in a flowing white gown. My uncle hesitated but pulled over. He rolled down the window slightly and called out, "Need a ride?" The woman said nothing, just nodded and slid into the back seat. My uncle asked where she was headed, and in a barely audible whisper, she gave him an address about 10 miles ahead. He tried making small talk, but she barely responded. Her voice was flat, distant, and then he noticed something strange. She wasn't dripping. Despite standing in the downpour just moments ago, the seat beneath her was dry. Unsettled, he focused on the road. The silence in the car felt unnatural, like it absorbed all sound. He felt an unbearable chill creeping up his spine. As he neared the destination, he glanced at the rearview mirror to let her know they had arrived. She was gone. His breath caught in his throat. He pulled over, heart racing. The seatbelt was still fastened. The car door had never opened. But the air was ice cold, and the faint scent of damp earth filled the cabin. Shaken, he drove up to the house and knocked on the door. After a long pause, an old man answered, his expression tired and knowing. My uncle hesitated before saying, "I just gave a ride to a young woman. She told me to drop her here, but she disappeared." The old man sighed deeply and motioned for him to wait. He returned moments later with an old, faded photograph. My uncle's blood ran cold. The woman in the photo was the exact same girl he had just picked up. The old man's voice was barely a whisper. "That's my daughter. She died in a car accident 10 years ago, right where you saw her." My uncle never took that highway again. 3. The Whispering Shadows. I used to live in a small studio apartment in New York. It wasn't much, but it was cozy. Or at least, it was until the whispers started. The first time, I thought it was my neighbors. Late at night, I would hear faint murmuring. But then I realized the whispers were coming from inside my room. One night, I woke up feeling peril.